Hi, my name is David, and today I'll be talking about information security governance and risk management, in particular framework. So, what is meant by framework? They are known as blueprint or guidelines that allow any enterprise to build upon and therefore establish compliance and meeting business strategic goals and objectives. In this domain, I will outline the topic learning outcome, provide a general overview of the SIF mind map associated with this domain, and then I'll go through the associated framework outlined from the mind map, which includes SABSA, Zachman, TOGAF, COBIT, ITIL, COSO, and various key ISO standards. Then I'll ask you to think about a task at the very end. And last but not least, question and comment, feel free to shoot them at the comment box below. As mentioned in the previous slide, the topic learning outcome would be that you should be able to describe and discuss the use of standard in network security. Why? Well, when you're in the industry, some of the time spent is actually determining that the current framework works for the enterprise, or does it require a change? Perhaps even integrating multiple frameworks or standards to increase compliance, or simply to increase business productivity, or maybe business efficiency. As shown in the mind map of this domain, I'll be putting my focus on framework as an overview rather in depth. As depicted in the previous slide, I will be talking about framework. These include Sherwood Applied Business Security Architecture, commonly known as SABSA, the Zachman Framework, the Open Group Architecture Framework, short for TOGAF, the COBIT, the ITIL Information Technology Infrastructure Library, COSO, and various ISO standards associated with information security governance and risk management. As you can see, SABSA anticipates the 5 layers. These are the contextual security architecture, the conceptual security architecture, the logical security architecture, the physical security architecture, and the component security architecture. Where those 5 layers contribute to the operational security architecture, you may ask, in general, what does these 5 layers encompass? So, in general, this framework exhibits 4 business requirements, anticipate risk assessment, and last but not least, the most important one, security architecture for the enterprise. So, examining SABSA in detail, we see that SABSA matrix demonstrated key work product as shown, in reference to each SABSA layers and its correlation of what, why, how, who, where, and when. When considering applying SABSA to an enterprise, the what, why, how, who, where, and when questions arise. So here is this matrix that shows the work product, therefore making it extremely easy to develop such work product when implementing the SABSA framework onto any given enterprise. This framework is the Zachman framework. It's designed for the enterprise, represented for the enterprise. It's aimed to align goals or rules, processes, material, roles, location, and event. However, this model does not focus on security, therefore the emergence of SABSA. Likewise with the SABSA, it anticipates for why, how, what, who, where, and when questioned, but they produce similar work product. As mentioned before, this framework does not support security. TOGAF, the Open Group Architectural Framework, is another common enterprise framework. It is designed to link business, data, application, and technology domain together as shown in the diagram. As mentioned in previous slide, both TOGAF and SABSA are excellent enterprise frameworks. And did I mention before that many enterprises choose to integrate framework? Now this is an example of integrating SABSA on top of TOGAF. As you can see, many core SABSA related aspects can be implemented into TOGAF as described in the diagram. So now we examine COBIT as an alternative enterprise framework that's dedicated for governance and management in IT. This framework comes from Osaka, that anticipate to assist enterprises of all sizes with maintain high quality information to support business decisions, achieve strategic goals, and realize business benefit through the effective and innovative use of IT. Achieve operational excellence through reliable, efficient application of technology. Maintain IT-related risk at the acceptable level. Optimize the cost of IT services and technology. Support compliance with relevant laws, regulation, contractual agreement, and policy. In all essence, they are based on 5 principles for governance and management of any IT enterprise. Principle number 1 being meeting stakeholder needs. Principle number 2 focus on covering the enterprise end-to-end. Principle number 3 applying a single integrated framework. Principle number 4 enabling a holistic approach. Principle number 5 separating governance from management. At the same time, COBIT exhibits 5 categories of enablers. Enabler number 1 being principles, policies, and frameworks are the vehicle to translate the desired behavior into practical guidance for day-to-day management. Enabler number 2 is processes described in an organized set of practices and activity to achieve certain objectives and produce a set of output in support of achieving overall IT-related goals. Enabler number 3 is organizational structures are the key decision-making entities in an enterprise. Enabler number 4 state that culture, ethics, and behaviors of individual and of the enterprise are very often underestimated as a success factor in governance and management activities. Enabler number 5 is information is required for keeping the organization running and well governed, but at the operational level, information is often the key product of the enterprise itself. Enabler number 6 is service, infrastructure, and application include the infrastructure, technology, and application that provide the enterprise with the information technology processing and services. Last but not least, enabler number 7 says people, skills, and competencies are required for successful completion of all activities and for making correct decisions and taking the corrective action. The Information Technology Infrastructure Library (ITIL) is a set of practice for information technology service management (ITSM) that focus on aligning IT service with the needs of business. ITIL underpins ISO 22000. It is a library of documents that provide best practice. In all essence, it's just a library for IT, providing core guidelines, best practice, and documentation for IT within 12 categorized domains. Service desk support, which provides help desk guidelines. Incident management, providing incident handling and guidelines for that area. Problem management, where problems arise, there are guidelines associated. Likewise, for change management, when the change required, there will be guideline or best practice associated. Likewise, for release management, it's the same deal where you have release management and then you got some best practice and guideline for it. Configuration management, when configuration develop, what guideline or best practice documentation for it. SLA, server level agreement, is when SLA requires what guideline or various guidelines associated. IT service financial management looks at where there are guidelines upon for it. Capacity management, same deal. And availability management have some guideline in terms of making sure that you get 100% availability or 99.99, etc. IT service continuity management, as in BCP, BDRP, have some guideline in that area also. And last but not least, the IT security management looks at security handling and security side guideline or best practice in security. ITIL had moved to version 3, which exhibits continual service improvement, service design, service lifecycle, which is the introduction to ITIL, service operation, service strategy, and service transition. COSO is another framework dedicated for the financial industry that aims to provide thought leadership through development of framework and guidance on enterprise risk management, internal control, and fraud deterrent, whereby it's a joint venture between 5 private sectors: American Accounting Association, American Institute of CPA, Financial Executive International, the Association of Accountant and Financial Professionals in Business, the Institute of Internal Auditors. As you can exhibit from this diagram, the internal control framework of COSO examines the control environment being 1. Commitment to integrity and ethical value. 2. Independent board of directors oversight. 3. Structures, reporting line, authority, responsibility. 4. Attract, develop, and retain competent people. 5. People held accountable for internal control. However, the risk assessment component of COSO exhibit 4. Clear objective identified. Risk identified and achievement of objective. Potential for fraud considered. Significant change identified and assessed. Likewise, for the control activity component, seek for control activities seek and develop. General IT control selected and developed. Control deployed through policy and procedures. Now, if we look at information and communication component of COSO, which exhibit for quality information obtained, generated, and used. Internal control information internally communicated. Internal control information externally communicated. And now we look at monitoring activities from COSO, which seeks for ongoing and or separated evaluation conducted, internal control deficiency evaluated and communicated. And that will conclude some of the enterprise architecture framework that was discussed. Now we come to another core aspect of framework, standard. In particular, information technology security technique related standards. These generally involve ISO 17799, ISO 27001, ISO 27002, ISO 27004, ISO 27005, ISO 27006, ISO 27799, ISO 38500. As depicted on the left hand side, ISO 17799 anticipates security policy, system access control, computer and operation management, system development and maintenance, physical and environmental security, compliance, personnel security, security organization, asset classification and control, and last but not least, business continuing management (BCM). On the right hand side, ISO 27001 dated at 2005. However, with the draft updating soon from 2013, this will be adopted as an information security standard. So this standard involved with security policy, organization of information security, asset management, human resources security, physical and environmental security, communication and operation management, asset control, information system acquisition, development and maintenance, information security, incident management, business continuing management, and last but not least, compliance. ISO 27002 endeavors the code of practice for information security management. It was developed from BS 7799 that comprised of framework, acceptable use of information technology resources, information security definition and term, risk assessment, security policy, organization of information security, asset management, human resource security, physical and environmental security, communication and operation management, access control, information system acquisition, development and maintenance, information security incident management, and business continuing management, and last but not least on the list is compliance. However, on the other hand, ISO 27004 dated 2009 has a focus area of measurement under security technique, with the 6 main areas of focus. 1. Being the information security measurement overview. 2. Being management responsibility. 3. Being the measures and the measurement development. 4. Being measurement operation. 5. Being the data analyst and measurement result reporting. And 6. Lastly, 6 being the information security measurement program evaluation and improvement. To your left, ISO 27005 dated at 2001 looks into information security risk management, which summarizes the general concept from ISO 27001. It's designed to assist the satisfactory implementation of information security based on a risk management approach. It does specify a structured, systematic, and rigorous process from analyzing risk to creating a risk treatment plan. It does not specify or recommend or even name any specific risk analyst method. To your right, ISO 27006 defined as a requirement for bodies in providing audit and certification of information security management system, whereby they exhibit the scope, normative references, term and definition, principle, general requirement, structural requirement, resource requirement, information requirement, process requirement, management system requirement for certification bodies. ISO 27799 Health Information Security Management in Health using ISO 27002. This particular standard seeks for the scope, references, terminology, symbols, health information security, practical action plan for implementing ISO 17799 or ISO 27002. Healthcare implication if 17799 or ISO 27002. Annex, also known as Appendix. So Annex A examined for threat, whereas Annex B examined for task and documentation of the ISMS. Likewise, Annex C, which seeks for the potential benefit and tools attribute, and last but not least, Annex D referred to related standards. And that concludes the ISO 27799. To your right, we see ISO 38500. This standard is a framework for effective governance of IT, which typically assists those at the highest level of organization to understand and fulfill their legal, regulatory, and ethical obligations in respect to their organization use of IT. What that really meant? That this standard endeavor for 6 principles. Principle number 1, responsibility, which states that establish clear understood responsibility for ICT, which meant ensure that individual and group within the organization understand and accept their responsibility for ICT. Principle number 2 is strategy, which means plan ICT to best support the organization. That meant ensure that the ICT plan fit the current and the ongoing need of the organization and such that the plan support the corporate plan. Principle number 3, acquisition, which typically refer to acquire ICT validly, which anticipate for such to ensure that the ICT acquisition are made for approved reason in an approved way. On the basis of appropriate and ongoing analysis, this also ensures that any appropriate balance between cost and risk, long-term and short-term benefit. Principle number 4 is performance, is to ensure that ICT perform well whenever it is required, and therefore ICT is fit for its purpose in supporting the organization and provide support to the business at all times when required by the business, therefore keeping it responsive to changing the business requirements. Principle number 5 is conformance, whereby such ICT conform with formal rules such as principle and that anticipate ICT to conform with external regulation and comply to internal policy and practice. But last but not least, principle number 6 is human behavior, which consequently examines to ensure ICT use respect human factors such as the ICT meet the current and the evolving need of all the people in the process. Therefore, to conclude, all the standards mentioned are available by paying a fee to the organization such as Australian Standard or the ISO, International Standard Organization. This comes to an end to ask yourself, what type of framework or standard does your current enterprise deploy as an enterprise framework? Could there be more than one framework integrated? If so, why? And what are they? You could probably ask someone who is specialized in the field and provide you the answers. Here are some reference links that I use. Feel free to examine those. Any question? Feel free to shoot me any comment. Thanks.